Namaste. I'm here today to answer a question which has come up in our weekly satsangs. We do a weekly global free satsang that anyone's welcome to join. You can simply email me if you'd like to join that satsang. And that satsang is based on non-duality, and it's for anyone who is wanting to wake up. So there is a great awakening happening globally right now, and we need it. We need people who are awake. We need people who are free from conditioning, free from judgment, and who are committed to peaceful lives, to living as peace, to being lived as peace. So in our meetings, we talk about the separate self and we talk about consciousness. Now, non-duality, simply by the term non-dual or advaita, it means not to, which means that there's only one thing going on. And that one thing is the infinite, boundless field of consciousness. And that field of consciousness includes everything in it. It's not a separate field with objects within it. Consciousness is a field, consciousness without an object, because it flows through every object. Very hard to get our head around that initially. We've often had experiences in the past where we've been watching a sunset, perhaps it's been in meditation, where all of a sudden the sense of separation of the body and everything else melts away, and there is that experience of just one awareness, one alive awareness, which is that one consciousness we speak of. So what is the separate self, and how does that hold us bound so that we are not experiencing that one peaceful aliveness, that sense of being without an object? That separate self is made up of, first of all, that identification that I am a body. And once we begin to really question, who am I? Fairly quickly we realize that we are not limited to this physical body. Many identify completely with the mind and with thoughts, and I am my thoughts, etc. Pretty quickly, when we dive deep into self-inquiry, we realize that I am not these thoughts. These thoughts are passing through. Who is the witness? Who is the observer of all of this? And that leads us toward that wonderful sense of being, or the ground of being, or the expanded, limitless experience of consciousness without an object. But within duality, which is what we were born into with these wonderful miraculous bodies, obviously there is a body vehicle here, and there is the ability for thinking to occur here, and the brain is a wonderful instrument for mind to express through. The separate body, the separate self is all our history. Everything that we're invested in. I am could simply be I am, but it's usually I am, and then we put a career after that, or we put I am sad, I am whatever I am at the time, because we're identified with that separate self, with all its history, with the beliefs, with the culture, with the point of view, with all the patterns that have been taken on since conception, at least, And this patterned self, which is given this vehicle of the body-mind to express through, is or allows us to express in the world of duality in which we live in this wonderful, miraculous world. And within that, if there is up, there is down. If there is happiness, there is also sadness. So because we are in the world of duality, suffering occurs. But what I've come to realize is that suffering is optional. If we can simply be with what is, without taking a standpoint based on that separate self with all its history, with all its beliefs, with its point of view, with its identifications, that resists presence. That will fight against another. There will always be conflict. So it's not that we drop the separate self. The separate self is there so we can function, but we can see through it. We are no longer completely identified with the separate self. We understand and we realize that we are the one thing, consciousness, expressing as multiplicity, within duality, as those birds outside the window, as this body, as all the objects that we see around us. So the separate self is made up of all the history, the beliefs and patterns that have been taken on and that are identified with. And it's in that absolute identification that we become limited and that we begin to suffer. If that can be seen through and the unfolding of life can be accepted exactly as it is, then we're free. We're connected to that field of peace, harmony, balance, the infinite consciousness, the one ground of being. There are so many ways to express that, and every way that I speak it here will be limited and could be said to be wrong, because it's impossible to limit this expanded ground of being to words. So as we awaken, gradually we just begin to see through the separate self, to see through all those patterned identifications and let go of that investment and realize that it's simply I am this. Namaste.